Ever fancied being a supreme being? Of course you have, but remember, what with the long hours and having to be omnipresent, being a god can certainly take it out of you. Luckily, with the conversion of Populous to the Master System, you can get to be god in front of the telly in your own home, but none of this having to be everywhere at once lark. Now it's your chance to play God, create the world in a week and destroy it in a heartbeat. Conquer 5,000 hostile worlds, unleash floods, volcanoes, swamps and earthquakes. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit of the history of the game. Now, Populous was developed by Bullfrog Productions, which is a British video game developer based in Guildford, England. Founded in 1987 by Peter Molyneux and Les Edgar. Now, certainly Peter is pretty well known in the video game industry for all sorts of reasons, but for most of us, he is the grandfather of God games, not just Populous, but other great games such as Syndicate, Dungeon Keeper, Black and White, Theme Park, the Fable series, Curiosity, What's in the Cube, that was a bit weird, and Goddess. I mean, the guy's a genius, absolutely thought his games were brilliant. Now, interestingly, everybody does tend to know and talk about Peter, but Les Edgar is also a very interesting fella too. After Bullfrog's acquisition by Electronic Arts in 1995, Edgar became a vice president there. And then Edgar left Bullfrog in 1999 and eventually left the video game industry too. And he left it for the automotive industry, where he reintroduced the Aston Martin to racing and became chairman of TVR, which has under his leadership set up partnerships with Gordon Murray and Cosworth. And Edgar stated that he intends to return TVR to Le Mans 24 Hours. See, he's an interesting fella too. Anyway, let's get back to Populous. Let's talk about the development of the game. Well, Peter, he led the development, which was inspired by Bullfrog's artist Glenn Corpse, having drawn isometric blocks after playing David Braben's Virus, and the game's budget was £20,000. And it was here where initially Molyneux developed an isometric landscape, then populated with little people that he called peeps. But there was no game, all that happened was the peeps wandered around the landscape until they reached a barrier such as water. He developed the raise and lower terrain gameplay mechanic simply as a way of helping the peeps to move around. Then, as a way of reducing the number of peeps on the screen, he decided that if a peep encountered a piece of blank flat land, it would build a house, and that a larger area of land would enable a peep to build a larger house. Thus, the core mechanics, godlike intervention and the desire for peeps to expand was created. In regards to the endgame of creating a final battle to force the two sides to enter a final conflict, well, that was developed as a result for the game going on and on for hours without actually having any firm end. So therefore, putting in this final battle gave it a little bit more purpose. Also in the early stages of development, Bullfrog attempted to prototype the gameplay via a board game they invented using Lego. Peter does admit that whilst it didn't help the developers to balance the game at all, it did provide a useful media angle to help publicise the game. And also during the test phase, the testers requested a cheat mode to skip to the end of the game, as there was insufficient time to play through all 5,000 levels. Well, the original game was 500 levels, the Master System has 5,000. And it was only at this point that Bullfrog realised that they had not included any kind of ending to the game. The team quickly repurposed a page from between levels and used it as the final stage. And after playing the demo to over a dozen publishers, Bullfrog eventually gained the interest of Electronic Arts, who had a gap in their spring release schedule and was willing to take a chance on the game. And it was here that Bullfrog accepted the offer, although I have to say Peter later described the contract as pretty atrocious. They only received 10% royalties on the units sold, rising to 12% after 1 million units sold, with only a small upfront payment. However, for me, this game certainly got their foot in there, and it started the ball rolling with better games coming, so Populous set them up for success for the future. Now, Populous was originally released for the Amiga in 1989 and was regarded by many as the first God game. With over 4 million copies sold, Populous is one of the best-selling PC games of all time. It's a game that's seen a load of formats, but in the big 1991 Master System version, you've got a huge 5,000 different worlds to lord it over, more than any other computer or console. So, let's get started by looking at this 8-bit gem of a game on our Master System. So what's the plot of the game? Well as yourself playing about being a big fab god, there's also a big evil god whose followers you have to destroy in order to gain total control. And you get to influence the fate of your people by wielding a variety of godly skills. And as a good god, you assume responsibility of shepherding people by direction, manipulation and divine intervention. And we have the ability to shape the landscape and grow their civilization and their divine power, with the overall aim of having the followers conquer an enemy force which is led by the opposing evil god. There you go, quite a simple plot. Now, you'll see that the main action window in Populous is viewed from an isometric perspective. It is set in a tabletop in which are set the command icons in the world map, which is really kind of depicted by an open book, and a slider bar that measures the level of the player's divine power, or as they say in the game, mana. And as I said earlier, the game consists of 5,000 levels, and each level represents an area of land on which live the player's followers and the enemy followers. And in order to progress to the next level, the player must increase the number of their followers such that they can wipe out the enemy followers. And as I said, this is done by using a series of divine powers. There are a number of different landscapes, such as desert, rock, lava, snow and ice, etc. And the type of landscape is not merely aesthetic, it affects the development of the players and the enemy followers. Now, the most basic part is raising and lowering the land. This is primarily done in order to provide flat land for the player's followers to build on, though it is also possible to remove land from around the enemy's followers. And as the player's followers build more houses, they create more followers, and this increases the player's mana level. And this is where it gets exciting. The more mana you receive, then this will allow you to perform a few acts of God. And these powers include the ability to cause earthquakes, floods, create swamps and volcanoes, and turn ordinary followers into more powerful knights. All of these powers come in very handy for destroying the settlements built by the rival god. There's something about Populous that brings out the bad in you. And when you're ready, well, this is where you invoke nothing less than Armageddon, where the good guys and the bad guys are at each other's throats, grappling with each other, discussing points of theology, and if you played your cards right, your side will be the most fanatical and do over the opposing team. And having proved yourself as being good at being God, well, you get to be God somewhere else, and so on, ad infinitum through all 5,000 planets. And as I said, these worlds range from simple grass to desert planets to the strange, very strange, bitmap planet where the graphics are all based on computer hardware and the land is made of floppy disks and you can build nice little PCs on it. A bit strange. If I'll be honest with you, that didn't really belong in the game. I wish they didn't put that in there. I just wish they kept it kind of real. Now, 5,000 planets is a hell of a lot to get through, but I was very pleased that the game included a password save feature to allow me to keep coming back to this game while on my conquest to get through all these 5,000 planets. And having that save feature, well, it gave it massive longevity. It was a brilliant game. Pretty neat stuff, isn't it? I mean, it's amazing that this is actually a Master System game, isn't it? Now, okay, it's lacking the Mega Drive detail, but this version does have clear, crisp graphics. They look pretty good as you scroll speedily around the map of the world. However, one point I would say is that the joypad can make controlling your cursor on the 3D landscape a touch on the difficult side, but apart from that, it's minor. Now, the absence of any soundtrack, I wasn't too sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. Perhaps the absence of a background music would probably help it be less slow than it would otherwise be. And I have to say, these marathon sessions, it can take hours to pass a world, and it would probably make it hard to write music for it in that case, but I have to say, it does make the game feel slightly incomplete. Now, although it does take a while to understand all the features of the game, it's all rather good fun being the Supreme Being. The idea of controlling the ultimate destiny of worlds and people really does appeal to me. My only really worry is that while each progressive planet does have a quicker and nastier god, once you've grasped the basic tactics, they don't really alter that much. Perhaps it's a little bit repetitive, the game, but for me, it's still fun. I'll have to say, it can be a slight slog trying to get through all those 5,000 screens. Thank God there was a save feature. But it is tricky getting through the 5,000 screens nevertheless. You really have to be patient. Still, if a Supreme Being can't handle it, then who can? So, on to my final little comment. Well, this is the original God game. The influence of Populous is felt widely. I mean, in its wake there was a slew of competing God games that bubbled to the surface, SimCity and Civilization to just name a few. This formula was expanded upon, but at the core of each follower was the heart of Populous. Provide gamers with an incredible playground on only a few rules, and then turn them loose, and then see how long it takes before they give in to the dark side. Such a great game, highly recommend you play it. And you know, Populous, it stands up well even by today's standards. Give it a try. Well, there you go folks, that was my quick review of this massive Master System game, Populous. Don't forget to leave a comment. What were your thoughts of this game? I am very interested, so please let me know. And now remember to press that like button, and of course please subscribe to my channel, which is dedicated to everything retro on both console and computers. Until the next video, see you all very soon. Bye bye.